Hello and welcome. My name is Zaffar Iqbal and you are watching the Mojo story. Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have signed a strategic mutual defense agreement in Riyadh, now declaring that an attack on one will be treated as an attack on both the countries. Now, reports do indicate that it could even extend to Pakistan's nuclear umbrella for Saudi Arabia. The pact was inked during Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's visit, and it follows a 40 nation Islamic summit in Doha, where calls were made for a NATO style alliance after Israel's strike on Hamas leaders in Qatar. Now, India has been reacting cautiously, saying that it had long been aware of the pact's possibility and is now closely studying its implications for national security and regional stability. To discuss more on this, we're joined by a special guest. We're joined by Kanwal Sibal, who is the former Foreign Secretary. Welcome to Mojo Story, sir. How do you assess the timing of this defense pact between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia? It comes just a few days after the leaders of the Islamic countries met in Doha, which was followed, which happened after Israeli strikes in Doha on Hamas leadership.
Well, our statement says that we were aware of these developments, which means that there is no direct linkage with this Arab summit. And the fact that just a few days after that, this pact was announced. No, these things don't happen suddenly, as you well know. These are discussed at length over a long period of time because the repercussions of that have to be clearly understood by both sides, and they have to take into consideration what will be the reaction in the region, especially that of India.
Right.
So the fact that they have gone ahead and done this is a matter which of serious concern to India, because India has not taken time to react. It has reacted immediately,
Right.
and it has also underlined its security concerns. And also, in a sense, it's a warning that we will take all steps necessary in all domains of security. So it's a clear signal to both the Saudis and the Pakistanis
Right.
that we will take whatever necessary steps are required to ensure that this pact does not create a security threat to us, or that we'll be and that we are determined to find ways to counter it. Now, I'm a bit surprised that Saudi Arabia has gone ahead and done this, because when they talk about aggression against one country being treated as an aggression against another,
Yeah.
now the point is that Pakistan will be vulnerable to aggression from whom? From Pakistani's point of view, it
Yeah.
is only India. There's nobody else
Yes.
that is
Right.
threatening Pakistan.
Yeah.
And so, is Saudi Arabia then saying that if there is a clash between India and Pakistan, a rerun of the Operation Sindoor, then Saudi Arabia will consider this as an aggression against Saudi Arabia? And then what will be Saudi Arabia's commitments in this regard?
Yeah.
So I think what the Saudis need to do, which I doubtful if they'll do, because Pakistan would be most unhappy if they did, is to find some ways of saying that this is not directed against India. That this
In fact, there is a statement to this regard. Al Jazeera is reporting that a Saudi official has told Al Jazeera that
that's no good. No
our
good.
relationship with India is more robust than it has
No,
ever
no, no,
been.
no.
We will continue to.
That's a very easy way out. And an
Yeah.
official says it. Who's this official? What
Right.
authority does he have? Is he speaking officially on behalf of Mohammed bin Sultan?
Yeah.
Is he representing the Saudi crown prince? I mean, this is a way of escaping from responsibility by briefing the press. And what credibility does Al Jazeera have insofar
Yeah.
as India is concerned? Anyway, no,
Right.
I don't buy that. I think it has to be more official if they are inclined to do so. Otherwise, there will always be an undercurrent of suspicion and doubt in how we look at Saudi Arabia and what its intentions are. Now, the
Yeah,
other point in this regard is that uh, this is happening after Operation Sindoor.
exactly.
Pakistan suffered uh, serious losses in terms of its air bases and everything else. Uh, and then Saudi Arabia is well aware that the root cause, from the Indian point of view, of
Yeah,
tensions and problems with Pakistan is Pakistan's support to terrorism. So either they are convinced that Pakistan will no longer commit any terrorist attack against us, which will then mean that there will be no reason for any operation.
yeah,
But can
yes,
they guarantee that? On the contrary, by giving this kind of backing and support to Pakistan after what happened in Pahalgam and otherwise Pakistan's general involvement in terrorism,
yeah,
it sends the opposite message. The- and it's the message which the Americans have sent us also. Because
right.
after Operation Sindoor, what does Trump do? He invites the
Asim
Pakistani
Munir, yeah,
army chief to the White House and entertains him unprecedentedly to a luncheon, private luncheon with him. So he has, Trump has begun the process of rehabilitating the army chief of Pakistan and Pakistan. And this
right,
has opened the doors to Saudi Arabia to do so.
right,
Now, second is this nuclear business. Now, there is no existential threat to Pakistan, even from India, because Pakistan has not used its nuclear weapons against India. So why should Israel create any existential threat to Pakistan?
right. Yeah,
Even if even if Israel is uncontrolled today in what it is doing in Gaza, and of course this terrible mistake they have committed in attacking Qatar, but this doesn't pose any existential threat to Pakistan,
right,
or for that matter, even to Qatar or Saudi Arabia or anybody else. So in that case, uh, why is Pakistan offering its nuclear cover to the region? That also is a bit surprising. The third is that even if I mean, for us, the problem then would be that Saudi Arabia will begin to finance Pakistan because Pakistan is in a serious economic situation. It can't buy arms.
right,
So what may happen then is that Saudi Arabia will give it the financial requirements, its financial requirements to buy more arms, whether from
yeah,
China or from United States. In other words, Saudi Arabia could begin the process of rearming Pakistan so that after Operation Sindoor, the gaps that Pakistan found in its defensive posture would begin to be filled. And we have calculated that if Pakistan uh, wants to fill all the gaps that it would now have perceived, it will need to spend about $30 billion in the coming years.
right,
Nobody's going to give them that kind of money,
right.
but the process can start. So
Start.
that is another element of worry for us. The other is that I don't know how Iran would look at this. After all, if Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are going to consider aggression against each other and directed against both countries, uh, then Saudi Arabia has always feared attacks from Iran.
Right,
So if tomorrow, for any reason, uh, there is uh, there is conflict between Iran and Saudi Arabia, then does Pakistan come to the assistance of Saudi Arabia against Iran?
right.
Uh,
These
I
are
don't know how Pakistan has calculated this
these are
because
very
Iran is
extremely
a direct,
important points. Extremely important points. And Iran being the neighbor of Pakistan, how
direct
is
neighbor.
Pakistan going to deal with that situation? But the point also that you raised that Trump is on a process of rehabilitating Asim Munir and Pakistan on the whole, and Saudi Arabia just took a cue from that, and it is also beginning to go closer to Pakistan. But what about other Gulf countries like Doha, like other countries, UAE? Would they also perhaps follow the same route?
No, there have been serious differences between UAE and Saudi Arabia, and of course serious differences between Qatar and Saudi Arabia and UAE. One time, they, they imposed an embargo on Qatar,
Right.
and Turkey came to the assistance of Qatar. And Saudi Arabia and UAE have been at odds with each other with regard to the Houthis.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's not as if there's any love lost between these
Yeah.
Arab kingdoms. So, but the Arabs are sort of good at that. Pretend that they
Yeah.
are united, but they are not. They are quite
Right.
seriously disunited. Therefore, I can't see UAE bandwagging with Saudi Arabia on this, because the stakes that UAE and India together have in each other's ties is now very deep. And UAE is still not withdrawn its ambassador. Leave aside abrogating uh, diplomatic relations, but it has not even withdrawn its ambassador as a sign of protest from Israel.
Right.
So I don't think, and neither will Oman. Oman has always played a very balancing role, very sober role uh, with regard to such issues. So I don't think they are going to bandwagon. So I'm very puzzled at Saudi Arabia's decision. If, for example, before signing this, they had kept us apprised and told us that we are doing this, but don't misunderstand it. This is more in terms of our Arab politics and vis-a-vis Israel, etc., and a signal to the United States that we don't now entirely depend on the United States for our security because of the manner in which they are giving Israel a free hand, then we wouldn't have reacted the way we have.
Right.
And
So this means actually we were not kept in the loop the way that we have reacted.
no, no. Otherwise, we would have reacted differently.
Right. Well, that's very important. But also the fact that India Saudi relations have also improved over the years. Now, India, say, not just Saudi Arabia, but other countries like India UAE trade was $100 billion last year. And there was a Delhi declaration between Saudi Arabia and India. There have been lots of exchange, particularly in areas of trade and commerce. You know, will this create an impact on other facets of the relation between two countries?
It is bound to. It is bound to. Although from India's point of view, we would still like to maintain our doors open to Saudi Arabia, because if we turn our backs, then we give Saudis even less incentive to try and maintain ties with us at a certain level. But the message is clear to us that Saudi Arabia has decided to take sides, because this is
Right.
what it amounts to. Uh, However, they might try to spin it. Now, the thing is that you mentioned earlier, some Saudi official who was giving
Yeah.
some kind. Now, he also said, I heard that they want to maintain a balance in
Yeah.
South Asia. Now, this means that they're worried at the hammering Pakistan got in Operation Sindoor and the weaknesses that were exposed. Uh, so, therefore, they want to make sure that Pakistan, going forward, is able to withstand Indian military pressure, if it comes to that. And for that, they want to back Pakistan to strengthen the military sinews of Pakistan to maintain the balance and also political balance.
Yeah.
Because earlier on, relations between India and Saudi Arabia had become very close.
Yeah.
And in fact, Mohammed bin Salman actually gave the highest honor of Saudi Arabia to Prime Minister Modi,
Right.
and he visited India. The relationship has been very good. Um, so, um, so they would also have an interest in not losing the all the positives that have developed in ties. Therefore, I'm at a loss to understand why you should have a defense pact where you say that aggression against one will be considered aggression against
Right.
the other. That is,
Now,
it's a,
what does it mean if tomorrow there's a clash between India and Pakistan? Then does this agreement bind Saudi Arabia to also join in that conflict?
then why have this agreement?
Yeah.
I mean, if the idea is that look, we will support each other if one side has is a victim of aggression, and then at the back of your mind you are thinking that I'm not going to do it, and then what's the point of having this agreement? Now, there are different ways of doing it. Doesn't mean that Saudi Arabia will send its air force and its soldiers. The soldiers even can't fight the Houthis, so forget fighting in our subcontinent.
Yeah.
But anyway, they can give money. They can give that kind of support for them to buy arms and at the political level mobilize the OIC uh,
Yeah.
and also put some economic pressure on India. We have several million uh,
Yeah.
expatriates in Saudi Arabia, and then the fact is that for the Hajj and everything else, it's the most sacred place for Muslims all over the world.
Yeah.
And and Saudi Arabia has been pressuring Pakistan even on the Hajj, as you know. They have been
Yeah.
limiting the number of Pakistanis that have come, and also, uh, you know, the narrative is that the Pakistanis send thousands of beggars to Saudi Arabia during Hajj because that's the time when they can get arms and
Yeah.
whatever else, and they try to stop, limit those numbers and this and that. So we've been, of course, always negotiating with Saudi Arabia for bigger Hajj quota and everything else. So these
Yeah.
are some of the points of pressure. The other concern that I have is that irrespective of what is in Saudi Arabia's mind, the jihadi organizations in Pakistan, as well as Asim Munir, who is himself a bit of a jihadi, they'll feel very encouraged.
Yes.
And they will feel that they now have uh, the support of Saudi Arabia, and they may uh, want to start the jihadi type of terrorist attacks against India, hit at India. I mean, they can be encouraged, even for a moment. If let's say they don't get a green signal directly from Asim Munir or the Pakistan military, they can feel separately encouraged to do
No,
that.
but said even the Pakistani military, when Operation Sindoor you mentioned, it was really a turning point in the sense that it exposed Pakistan, and then Indian military leadership came up and they said that they were not fighting a one front war. It was perhaps a two front or a three front war. There was involvement of China also. China was giving real time information to Pakistanis, and now with this pact coming into place, this could embolden Pakistan state and Pakistani military more.
Yes, that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying. That this can give them this encouragement that they have China that supports them, they have Turkey that supports them, and now Saudi Arabia supports them. All three in different ways, but supports them. So they might feel that their political position has become much more solid, and therefore they can up the ante with India. And even if it doesn't lead to terrorism or a military confrontation, generally even a worsening of atmosphere in
Yeah.
ties in different ways, because they can, as it is, the rhetoric has not got diluted in any way, but the rhetoric can be spelled out, um, can be raised even more. So, in other words, Pakistan would feel emboldened that now it is it's got powerful friends, and that they can now stand up to India more in various ways, both in terms of rhetoric and actions on the ground.
Right. And let's talk about the elephant in the room, America. Now, I found it very interesting that on the day this pact was signed between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, Saudi defense minister met with CENTCOM commander the same day when the defense pact was announced.
Well, I didn't know that, but if that has happened, then I think one can easily see there is an element of U.S. encouragement.
Yeah.
As it is, the manner in which Trump has been receiving General Asim Munir was itself a big encouragement to the Pakistani military, knowing fully well what the Pakistani military role has been, even against the United States itself
Yeah.
during the Afghanistan war. Uh, and the outgoing CENTCOM chief, in fact, lauded Pakistan, praised Pakistan for its phenomenal
Yeah.
cooperation
Yeah.
with America uh, on the issue of on
Count.
counterterrorism, simply
Right.
because they made one chap, gave them one chap who was responsible for killing
And Trump
him
also mentioned about Pakistan in his very
in
first speech after he became
inaugural
the
address.
president. Yeah.
Inaugural address here.
Yeah.
CENTCOM obviously has a very, very soft corner. And when General Kurila retired and General Munir went all the way to Florida or wherever for his retirement ceremony. And on that occasion, as you know, he threatened to use nuclear weapons against India, and the Americans said nothing. And this was said on
Yeah.
U.S. soil.
Right.
Uh, so, so therefore, if what you say is a fact, and I assume since you're saying it is a fact, then I think the U.S. dimension is very much there.
Right. And now, in the context of all of this, what are the diplomatic options and other options available for India to counterbalance this emerging axis?
Well, the real answer is that India must strengthen up its own defense. It can't happen overnight. It will take time, but that's the road down which we have to go. Number two, Saudi Arabia, in terms of actual military power, is not a problem for us.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's only their money and their funding and their finance, which is an issue. Plus, of course, indirectly giving free oil or subsidized oil to Pakistan so that their military machine can run apart from their economic machine. So
Yeah.
that kind of support to keep Pakistan. But but we can even live with that so long as Pakistan is not adventurous. But if this kind of support from Saudi Arabia makes Pakistan more adventurous towards India, then the Saudi connection becomes a big problem for us. On the other hand, although it doesn't fit in with the scenario that we're talking about, if the Saudis, after having made Pakistan dependent on them in this manner, uh, also caution them behind the scenes not to do anything which would embarrass Saudi Indian relations, and therefore keep a check on their adventurism. That could that may not be very unhelpful.
Right.
Uh, that could also happen if strategically the Saudi crown prince is thinking rationally. Um, so that is the second thing. The third thing is that we have to step up our ties with UAE even more, with Oman even more. We are discussing an FTA with Oman. Uh, with UAE, we already have one. Of course, this IMET business now is a bit out of reckoning, uh, and so is ITU too. But IMET also, I think, will receive a setback. But that doesn't stop us from deepening our ties with the UAE. On the day that Saudi Arabia signed this defense pact, it was interesting to see that on this Al Burj Khalifa,
Yeah.
right across the height of it,
Yes.
they were wishing happy birthday to our Prime Minister.
Prime Minister
So
Mojo.
with
Right.
UAE, our relations are strong. Then with the other countries in the region, whether it is Bahrain, whether it is Iraq, uh, we have very good relations. So it's not as if uh, this is the end of our ties with the Saudi Arabia, but Saudi Arabia, to my mind, has been strategically very insensitive by signing this defense pact uh, with Pakistan, which has this clause in it that an aggression against one is an aggression against the other. In the context of what I explained, that the only potential aggression in inverted commas that Pakistan can be subjected to would be from India, no one
Right.
else.
Right. And you talked about Saudi money and the oil that can come to Pakistan, but also the equipment, the weapon that Saudis have been buying from Americans and from other countries. Now, this also, uh, creates a situation where Pakistan gets more access to that also.
Yeah, but then if this actually came out and was visible and was a fact on the ground, which means that Saudi is actively engaged in a conflict with India, then don't forget that there is a sea between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. So it won't be that easy. Uh,
Right.
and even if there's vulnerability, if there's actual involvement of Saudi Arabia, which means that Saudi Arabia is prepared to go to a war with India, it doesn't have the means to do so. It
Right.
doesn't have the means to do so. If they're worried about one drone, no, I am not trying to dramatize things, and we have no intention of doing this at all. But I'm just saying theoretically, if one or two drones from Houthis, prompted by Iran, could bring Aramco to a standstill, so do they think they can take a risk of having a conflict with us?
I don't think they can even think of doing that. But
They won't.
we talked about America. But what about?
Other thing I want to say,
Yeah.
and there's a little bit of a problem here because of the United States. We must strengthen our ties with Iran as an answer.
Right.
Uh, Therefore, we must get out of this threat of sanctions and everything else. I don't know to what extent we have that room for maneuver, but I think we should create it. Maybe it's not at this time when we are under pressure from the United States because we are buying Russian oil and 50% tariffs. But once things calm down a bit, maybe we should strengthen our ties with Iran. And
Right.
let's have military exercises with Iran, theoretically. That will drill some sense
Yeah.
into Saudi Arabia and Pakistan.
But that may not happen so soon,
I
given
agree.
the
I agree.
geopolitical situation.
I
Uh,
agree. But we used to have it before Iran came under sanctions. We used to
yeah.
have a defense
Right.
cooperation with them.
We spoke about America, Trump, and the way that he's, you know, opened up to Pakistan. But how do you see China's role in this? Could Beijing be a silent backer of this alignment? Because it cannot be that China has no role to play. Pakistan does everything uh,
You see,
with a
for
nod of the
China,
Beijing.
for China, it's also a bit of a problem. Any unnecessary adventurism by Pakistan can land China into trouble. But China is very happy to support Pakistan and strategically try to neutralize. But they also know what Pakistan's weaknesses are. And since they have invested so much in Pakistan, they don't want their investments to be lost if there is a major conflict between India and Pakistan, and
Yeah.
Pakistan is suffers. So they would also have an interest both in maintaining pressure through Pakistan on India, but at the same time not allow that to become far too big, that which may risk actually a conflict, which may then uh, affect their interest there and then draw them in some way or the other. They would
Right.
want to avoid that. And coupled with that is the kind of efforts that are being made, however limited they are for the moment, in trying to move towards some normalization of ties between
Right.
India and China. So, in that context, China may not uh, be supportive of this kind of triangular China, Pakistan, Saudi kind of pressures on India. And on the nuclear issue, China would in any case be very worried because even when it came to Russia, if you remember, Xi Jinping was advising that nuclear weapons should not be used.
Yeah.
Uh, Even such a close ally that the two sides have become
Yeah.
and dependent on each other. Now, therefore, they're not going to be approve of Pakistan offering nuclear cover to the Arab world or whatever. So I think that kind of rhetoric from Pakistan or this NATO business actually will worry the Chinese.
Right.
As it
That's
is,
that's
their position is that one should not, at least the stated position, divide the world into blocks. I
blocks,
mean, they
right?
object to Quad and they object to uh, the Indo-Pacific concept because these creates blocks and this and that. So how will they? They can't. They will not support a NATO-like structure in the.
NATO-style Islamic military. A lot of talk about it. Do you think that it could actually take a shape, or it's just a
I think
non-starter?
the Arab language lends itself to a lot of bombast and
Yeah,
rhetoric. So I think it's okay. I don't think this can be taken seriously. But the Pakistani people, their PR to the UN and their foreign minister, deputy prime minister, they seem to be talking about
yeah,
Pakistan nuclear capability that can deter Israel.
yeah. Uh, it's very interesting that this development has taken place and it will have lots of implications. But thanks so much, Kanwal Sibal ji, for joining us today and for sharing your thoughts. And thanks to our viewers for joining us and for watching the Mojo story. Thank you.
My pleasure. Bye bye.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.